your lifestyle and your environment is affecting how your genes are turned on and turned off. The point I want to get across is that your health is a function of how you're living your lives. Nutritionally, physically, all those other 8 pillars of health that we were talking about. And if you were to ask me, of all of those 8 pillars of health, which one is the most important? Hands down, it has to be nutrition. I can argue that nutrition feeds into all of those aspects, whether it's lifestyle, environment, or even your genetics. I'm going to walk you through a little thought experiment. I think if you know me very well, maybe follow me on Facebook, you know I'm a pretty avid gardener. I love plants, I love houseplants. So let's pretend this was a houseplant I had sitting on my kitchen counter, but I came to Singapore for a week, okay? I'm not watering it, I'm not fertilizing it, I'm not talking to it, I'm not giving it any love. What's gonna happen to that plant while I'm over here in Singapore for a week? I'm gonna be so happy, right? It's gonna maybe start to wilt a little bit. It's not gonna be optimally healthy. Okay? Now, when I go home and I pour a bunch of love, water, fertilizer, right, i.e. nutrition, into that plant, is it fair to say I can nurse that plant back to health? Absolutely, right? I can nurse that plant back to health over time. And the sooner I do that, the easier it is to bring that plant back to health. Now, let's say I'm here in Singapore for a week and I want to extend my stay in this very lovely city. Say another 2 weeks. 2 more weeks I'm not going to be able to water, fertilize that plant. What's going to happen? It's going to be in a lot worse shape. Is that fair to say? In fact, I'll probably come home to a very dead plant. Everybody agree with me? This is exactly what we're talking about with the health continuum. So why is it that what we know to be intuitive with plants doesn't also apply to us? Okay? So I ask you again, when it comes to your health and all 8 pillars of your health, where are you? Are you truly healthy in every aspect? Are we helping Dr. Wentz? Are we helping Kevin Guest fulfill their vision for this company to be the healthiest family on earth? So, people always come up to me after a talk and maybe they can be a little bit overwhelmed. And I say, Brian, I don't know where to start. But have you ever heard this adage? When's the best time to plant a shade tree? When's the best time? No, it's not now, it's 100 years ago, right? So you can enjoy the shade, right? We all should have been exercising yesterday, right? But give yourself some grace. Don't beat yourselves up, because the second best time to plant a shade tree is today, okay? So I want you all to start to commit and think about some goals that you're gonna write down for me at the end of ways that you can incorporate healthy habits into your life. And I want to start with nutrition. Again, for me, this is the most important thing in those 8 pillars of health. I want you to get your nutrition right. And I also want to postulate that we are overcomplicating this whole nutrition thing, okay? Some of my bosses are here, actually. At the risk of talking myself out of a job, I want to tell you that nutrition isn't rocket science, okay? We have just overcomplicated it with all the information, and I say misinformation that's out there on the internet. Do you know there has not been an essential vitamin or mineral found in the last 75 years? We have known for 75 years everything our body needs to function. Okay? We're overthinking nutrition. We need to get back to the basics and get our foundational nutrition right. Okay? And by foundational nutrition, I mean those essential micronutrients, right? The vitamins and minerals that we need, and those essential macronutrients that we need. We overlook our food. A lot of us don't realize that that food that we eat is still essential nutrition. Carbohydrates are essential for life. If you stop eating them, you will die. Fats are essential for life. If you stop eating them, you will die. And then lastly, protein is essential. If you stop eating it, you will die. Did you guys know that? A lot of people don't realize that. Let's do another thought experiment. Everybody know who this is? Gandhi. An amazing man. But Gandhi was famous for, well, a lot of things. But he was really famous for going on hunger strikes to get his political points across. Now Gandhi, I don't know if he knew it or not. I don't know how he could have. But he would go on hunger strikes for about 21 days. And it turns out that 21 days is pretty crucial. If he were to go much longer than 21 days, he would start to experience some pretty significant health consequences. But in 21 days, he would start to slowly introduce food back into his diet, and he would what? Nurse himself back to health. Okay, so he got a little bit frail, a little bit fragile, right? He's a skinny man, but he could bring himself back to optimal health. Now, here's the thought experiment. If Gandhi were to go much more than 21 days, it's starting to get into 30 days, 35 days, 40 days. Like I said, significant health consequences are going to occur, and eventually he's going to die from starvation. Now let me ask you, what is Gandhi going to pass away from? Is it a micronutrient depletion or a macronutrient depletion? How many people say micronutrient depletion? Vitamins and minerals. How many people say macronutrient depletion? There's a lot of smart people in the room. You're right, it's actually macronutrient depletion. And most people who die from starvation tend to die from a heart attack. And you tend to die from a heart attack because your heart works almost exclusively on fat. So you can see Gandhi's a skinny man there. Eventually you just run out of fuel to fuel your heart, and your heart just stops working. So you can argue on the short term, getting your macronutrition right is more important than your micronutrition. But, there's a but. I now want to postulate that micronutrition is more important for your long-term and optimal health. And again, I'm talking about the scientific literature here. This isn't me. And this is a big body of work that was done from a different professor back in the United States named Professor Bruce Ames. Again, at a very prestigious university over in the States. Dr. Ames has this theory of aging called the triage theory. Is everybody familiar with that term, triage? Right. Well, let's just say, just quickly, let's say, God forbid, there's a big bus crash outside the palace here. Right. The medical professionals are going to race in, and they're going to, as quickly as they can, assess how injured everybody is. And you know, sometimes to save more people, these medical professionals will have to let some people die. Okay? That's triage. So we'll let a couple go so that we can save even more. So Professor Ames got thinking. He says, you know what? Our bodies actually work the same way. Our bodies will compromise our long-term health and survival to make sure that we can live to tomorrow, to next week, next month. What do I mean by this? So I know this is a busy slide, but I'm going to walk you through it. So I'm going to pick on vitamin C for this slide. If I don't eat any vitamin C, what disease will I get? It's an open book test. It's on the screen. It's scurvy, right? I heard it down here. But you'll get scurvy if I stop eating vitamin C. Okay? Just like Gandhi would die in about a month, month and a half from starvation, if I stop eating vitamin C, I start to become really, really sick by about that same time frame, a month, month and a half. Then by months 3 and 4, I'm in really bad shape, and I'm probably going to die from scurvy. So our governments, and our governments call them sometimes the same thing, sometimes a different thing, have come up with this number that in the States we call the recommended daily allowance, right? So your regulatory agency might call it the same, might call it different. But they've come up with a number that we all need to eat so that we're not going to get scurvy. The recommended daily allowance so that we're not going to get scurvy. But these government agencies, they're not thinking about optimal health. And this is where Professor Ames' work is so groundbreaking. Because what he can show, and for the scientists in the room, the actual very complex scientific mechanism is on the right-hand side of the screen. But what Professor Ames has been able to show and postulate is that our bodies will rob vitamin C from stores that are related to energy or cardiovascular health to make sure that we just don't get scurvy. Okay, so again, that we can live till tomorrow, next week, next month, etc. Okay? But what's been shown in the scientific literature over and over and over again is that if we eat more vitamin C than that RDA, that can help with our energy production. If I eat even more vitamin C, that's going to help my long-term cardiovascular health. Okay? So now, if this is a continuum, not left to right, but actually up and down, what part of that continuum would you like to be living in? Do you want to achieve optimal health, or do you just want to be getting by with that minimal nutrition? I hope everybody's saying, I want to live at the top of that chart, right? Striving for optimal health. And this is what's so revolutionary about Dr. Wentz and USANA. It's talking about advanced dosages in the right form, balanced, so that we can live for as long as possible, the optimal part of this chart. Now, if I were to eat vitamin C, let's say I eat an orange. I eat an orange, is my vitamin C level going to stay up forever, like it's depicted in this graph? No. My body's going to utilize it, consume it, it's going to fight free radicals, and then eventually I'm going to excrete it. So my level eventually is going to come back down. Anybody know how long that takes to come back down to basically where you started? It's about 8 to 12 hours. You're right back to where you started. Did you ever wonder why USANA recommends you take your nutritionals twice a day? It's to keep your levels in that optimal range for as long as possible. The other reason Dr. Ames' work is so revolutionary is it doesn't just apply to vitamin C. He's gone on and put the scientific mechanism to a number of vitamins and minerals. So as we start to think about these advanced doses of vitamins and minerals, we can start to experience these additional health benefits that are going to set us up for optimal long-term health. Okay, that's a great hypothesis. Well, what's the reality? Well, here was a study that was done by the Council of Responsible Nutrition. Okay, items related to heart health, metabolic health, eye health, and bone health. They asked the question, were conditions related to those four things, was there things that we could intervene with where we could actually bring down the rates of those conditions? So look, very simple nutrients like fiber, healthy fats, B vitamins, chromium, lutein and zeaxanthin, two carotenoids that are very commonly found in like tomatoes, for example, vitamin D, calcium, and magnesium, things we've all heard about, right? Could actually lower the rates of these conditions from 3.3% to about 23%. Okay? I ran the numbers for that, and look what happens. In the United States, where we have about 320 million people, we could save $40 billion. We want to talk about having a positive impact on health, having a positive impact on the medical system. Why are we not looking at supplements as interventions for health? It's crazy. We need to change our mindset. So again, more proof that proper nutrition is essential for optimal health. So how are we doing as a society? We're doing terrible. It's what I call the alphabet soup of nutritional deficiencies. We are literally deficient from A to zinc. And oh, by the way, these are those RDA levels. We're not even hitting those minimal levels of nutrients that we need to stave off those diseases of nutritional deficiencies. We are doing terrible. And I want you to hold a number in your head for the next slide. If you will allow me, just quickly kind of take an average of those deficiencies and just give me the grace of saying 50%. On average, we're not getting 50% of the nutrients we need from our diet, okay? Hold on to that number, 50%. So my mind works in very simple pictures, colors, charts, okay? This is how I like to think of our cell. Right? think our cells are little factories. Their job is to take the food that we're eating, break it down, take those little bits, and build stuff back up, just like this old automobile assembly line, okay? So remember your macronutrients and your micronutrients. If this whole slide is a cell, we have that little factory going on inside of the cell. I like to think of those cars coming down that assembly line like being the macronutrients. I like to think of those workers on that slide as being our vitamins and minerals. So if cars stop coming down that line, what happens? What happens? The workers have nothing to do. Now, what happens if I pull those workers off of that assembly line? Are those cars going to get made? No, that factory line comes to a screeching halt. So you remember that number I gave you, 50%? That's what we're talking about. What if I pull 50% of the workers off of that assembly line? Are cars still going to get made? Yeah, cars are still going to get made, but is that assembly line working as efficiently as it could? No, absolutely not. And this is exactly the role of nutritional supplementation, is to make sure we are optimizing our cellular factory lines. And this is why I'm so proud to work for and represent this company, because this is how the scientists who are formulating your products are thinking about nutrition. They are thinking about foundational nutrition in everything from your skincare line, to your foods line, to your nutritionals line. But again, I told you we're overthinking everything. I want you all to stop doing that and get back to the basics. I love this slide because this is what I mean. I want you to get back to your basics before you start worrying about an individual health goal, because you have to get your foundation right. So on the right-hand side of the screen, we've got a foundation for something that's going to be a great big skyscraper. And on the left, we have a foundation for a nice, cozy home. But those foundations have something in common, right? Concrete or cement. You have to get that foundation right, or there's no way you can build a skyscraper on top of that. There's no way you can build a skyscraper of health on top of a bad nutritional foundation. You have to get those essential micronutrients and macronutrients right. Get those essential macronutrients. Eat those fruits and vegetables. I'm sorry, I wish I had a magic pill for you to take, but you still have to eat your fruits and vegetables. Our foods line provides amazing macronutrition, okay? Don't overthink this. Every single adult in this room needs to be on at least the Cell Essentials. If you're pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, you have it in your market, think about the prenatal Cell Essentials. And then if you have children, don't forget about them, because pound for pound, kids actually need more nutrition than adults, okay? So don't forget about them with Body Rocks and Usanas. Because the reality is, those macronutrients and micronutrients have to work together if we want optimally healthy cells. Because what? Healthy cells equal what? Healthy us, okay? So I ask you again, are you truly healthy in every sense of the word? Not just free of disease, but are you optimally healthy in every sense of the word? Where are you at on that health continuum? Now I want to challenge you. Are you willing to take ownership of your health span? Are you willing to take ownership? Will you write down for me one goal that you want to change? One habit you want to become part of your daily routine. And I promise you, if you will plant that seed of health and just start with one healthy habit, it will blow up into healthy habit after healthy habit. Because what do healthy habits do? They increase your health. So as you do these healthy habits day by day, they will become second nature. And I promise you, you will improve your physical condition. Okay? We can help Dr. Wentz and Kevin Guest execute on their vision of all of us being the healthiest family on earth. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon. Are we learning something? I think we learned a lot of things. Please help me give our appreciation to Dr. Dixon again for his